Hey, welcome back to the Bums in the Bleachers broadcast. Sorry we're a couple minutes late here. Life happens. Cooking for
All
the
good,
fam
all
right
good.
before. We've got about 10 minutes till game time too, and plenty to talk about. It's been, again, a couple weeks with me being on the road. Just to fill everyone in, I was actually in Kentucky last week, yet again, doing some barrel picks. Got about 4 barrel picks that we did that will be coming in. I can only talk about a couple of them, but
Oh, beautiful.
be pretty exciting. So I'm pretty excited about them coming in. If you're obviously into whiskey, which if you notice my name down there, Dram Daddy, I'm very much into whiskey. So as I said, I'm the Dram Daddy alongside my partner in crime here, Mike Presnowski. How's it going, man? It's been a couple weeks. How you feeling?
Specifically after the last few days, I'm like almost fully recovered basically from going to the game on Saturday. I saw, our good friends the Chicago Sports Bums over on the South Side and had a good time with them. Not gonna lie, I kind of blacked out for most of that game, but luckily, the time I realized everything was, all good, that came away with a W then, and then came away with a W the next day, which, was slightly more coherent for.
Yeah, totally get it. I mean, I have yet to. You know what's crazy is like I've been to a couple Cubs games this year, and none of them have been at Wrigley, and I have not even been to a Sox game. So I wanted to. I actually was thinking about coming out for the weekend, but considering my record against the AL Central when I go, I figured I'd stay far away, and especially after Friday, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to any of these games.
Oh man, that was ugly. Yeah, I don't blame you at all. And we were texting each other. I think at that point you were saying like Sox are going to take the series because I mean
I was,
it was. And you know what? You were well within your right to. That was an ugly, ugly, ugly game, and we'll get into it more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, definitely an ugly game, and I think just to give some context too, because I know everyone knows me as the pessimist, but I knew Sunday was going to be a bullpen game, and the Cubs have traditionally not been very good during those bullpen games when they're kind of piecing things together, and that ended up being Ben Brown starting. So,
which is also pretty risky,
very much so,
right.
yeah. And I probably, to be honest, I probably would have felt worse had I known going into the series it would have been Ben Brown, especially coming off, Saturday or Friday's loss, I should say. But
yeah,
we're starting off a little bit late, and we got some big news before the show that we were trying to discuss and talk about, and I think this is a hot topic button for a lot of people. Jed Hoyer gets extended a multi-year deal. Can I already? You know what? Can I jump in and just give my flying the L's already?
You're going on an L for the Cubs here, okay?
Hear me out, okay? And this is not a dig at Jed Hoyer, okay? I'm just going to give you one of my L's real quick. Chicago sports teams and Chicago sports fans get the L here. How many games have the Cubs won under Jed's tenure?
I mean,
I'm sorry. Win-loss record, I'll look up. I'm sorry, playoff wins. How many playoff wins has Jed Hoyer had?
That is an easy answer. Yeah, they haven't been to the playoffs under Jed.
Oh, okay. All right. How many playoff wins have the Bears had before they just extended Ryan Poles when he had 2 years left on his deal and they gave him 5 more? How many playoff wins?
Also an easy answer. It's a very round number. Yes.
Oh, you know what? There was another head coach that just got extended in Chicago. Management with the Chicago Bulls. I want to say Billy Donovan.
This is one we can agree on. Yeah.
Yeah. They just got extended. How many playoff wins? Can you remind me? Do they have?
Are we counting like the play-in tournament ones too? Or they
didn't win any of those.
Yeah. So I don't. None that are meaningful.
They won one game against Milwaukee the year that Lonzo Ball went down.
2022. Okay.
Yep. Right. That was the first year that they put that team together, and they won one playoff game against Milwaukee, which, Milwaukee ended up crushing them the rest of the way. So, yeah, L to Chicago fans, because apparently to get extended in the city, have a sub 500 record, don't win any playoff games, make a few good moves that look good on paper, and you get extended. Honestly, I'm in the wrong field.
Yes. I'll see if I don't know. what teams haven't we named yet? The White Sox or the Blackhawks, if they're hiring for any front office positions these days? I mean, you know, see where you can get in, because you might be in there for a while. But look, this is a topic we did bring up briefly on a previous show about Jed possibly getting an extension this season, and
Yep.
it's no surprise. I was the one who suggested it. I was more on the positive side. You were more on the negative side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you he's not fully earned it. He's also like not undeserving of it as well. And he's someone that I would say that like I feel stronger about him being the president of baseball operations for the Cubs going forward than I would if it would just be like the next guy up, which would probably be Carter Hawkins. If they were to have let him walk after this season. I feel like the roster he's built this year has been a really good one. And I'd say on the hitting side, aside from Kyle Tucker and the catchers that have hit the cover off the ball, it's mostly been with the same core that has been around since like 2023 when they first kind of, turned a little bit of a corner out of, the 2021 sell-off. But here we are, on July 28th, and the Cubs are tied for the best record in the National League. If the Brewers weren't just complete world beaters, they'd have like a pretty healthy division lead right now. And, we talked about it earlier in shows that like, are we getting that 2016 feeling? I mean, I don't want to exactly say that I am, but they're only about 3 wins short of where they were in 2016 to this point right now. And, what helped a lot in that season was that like nobody else in the division was really giving the Cubs a run for their money at that point. You can't really do much to control what the Brewers are doing because like there's no player that they got that the Cubs were in on. I feel like as a whole, Judd has created a really damn good roster. Got the right guy managing the team in Craig Counsell. I would even say this too. If the Cubs were having just another like 84, 85 win pace year like they had the last few years, the farm system is at least in a place where you want to see it through with him. And we don't know the details of this extension, but like, I don't know that there was ever going to become a point where he was going to be let go before we knew like Owen Casey would either be up here or be traded or what have you, or any of the other top prospects we have. So, I mean, I think that is probably the biggest strength of Jed right now is that like he's really rebuilt the farm system to a point where he's earned the right to see it through at least.
I see. I think you made a good point. Like is he totally deserving? Maybe not. Is he totally undeserving? Maybe not. I think, yeah, you could flip a coin here and say that, you could go either way. I think there are two sides to the argument that you can make, right? I think you could say he's done a damn good job of having to rebuild after Theo left. And, there's, obviously said the big sell-off, that they had in 21. And, he had to basically flip this entire roster, in a few years span.
Right.
I think the things that had frustrated me throughout the process there was, just the lack of, I just think the lack of communication that he gave during the process of the rebuild. Like there was never a definitive timeline. I think I've said that to you before. That was a big frustration for me where it's like, hey, look, and again, I don't need exactly, this is going to take 2 years, 3 years, but hey, this is what we're doing. Here's the timeline. By this year, this is where we want to be. By this year, this is where we want to be. And if we're not, we failed, right? And I don't think we got any of that. So that was a frustration with me coming into this year. Obviously, he made the big move for Kyle Tucker, which HBIC obviously mentioned here. I think that's another frustration, and this is not necessarily Jed's fault that, Jed got an extension before Kyle Tucker did, and more of a serious consideration of an extension before Kyle Tucker got anything. Which questionably, I would say Kyle Tucker has done more for this roster than Jed Hoyer has, because a lot of it is, it's very similar roster to last year, with a couple tweaks here and there, but he's the big one.
For sure.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, we talked about it time and time again on the show that the addition of Tucker, like, not just helps in upgrading that spot that he, was previously held by Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, and Wright, but also, it makes the rest of the lineup look as much better with the guys around him as well.
100%.
Like Seiya has had the biggest improvement of his career largely because of the presence that Kyle Tucker is.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you could say PCA is, probably up there too, but
that could also just be his trajectory too. You never know.
Yeah, could be. So I like I said, I'm not upset he got the extension. I think it's more so like when I'm saying I'm giving the L's, it's just in comparison to the rest of, the Chicago teams that we have here. And everybody getting extensions for literally nothing, but yeah, so we'll see, we'll see where this takes us. Let me ask you this. Now that Jed Hoyer is extended, because I text this to you, before we started the show and, earlier today, do you think now that Jed feels less pressure to push more chips in, knowing that he'll be back next year and he'll be able to, continue with the roster and continue to build and add on to the roster accordingly? So do you think he'll maybe take some steps back in the trade market because he doesn't feel the pressure because now he's not a lame duck anymore?
It depends what routes they go, really, because I think now that he's extended, the trades they're going to make may not be as many rentals. It may be a lot more trades. We were talking about a lot about Mackenzie Gore yesterday during the game. And like, I think that might be a move that's a little more likely now, that like one that, helps beyond just 2025. I do, I wonder like how he sees this Matt Shaw resurgence ever since the All-Star break, as how he would approach potentially going after a Eugenio Suarez or any other third base option that may be out there. And the other thing that's been like pretty out of his control as well too is a lot of the guys that the Cubs had been like wanting, we had heard in the rumors for Cubs trades are kind of falling out of, they got hurt and they're going to be missed the rest of the year. They're not going to be available to get traded. Chris Bubich just today from the Royals going to be out for the year. Who was it that I sent you the other day that is out for the year? It was either yesterday or the day before it got announced that he's out. But another guy that was in that mix too.
And then Seth Lugo just got extended.
Yes, okay, Seth Lugo. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, Seth Lugo's got extended.
It wasn't an injury; it was an actual extension. Okay, so
and then now you got, and we'll get to the rate. Yeah, let's save that for the trade rumors because I think there's a lot of stuff going on and floating around, and there's a lot of guys that are on the market and a lot of guys that just recently got pulled off. But any more thoughts on the Jet extension, or you good there?
I'm happy that at least now this maybe doesn't this keeps him in line with Craig Counsell, because Craig Counsell had a fairly longer contract than Jed going into the season as well too.
Bases loaded.
All right, beautiful. Let's go, boys. Putting the pressure on Jacob Mizorowski. Love to see it. But yeah, like, they seem to be in pretty good lockstep with each other as far as like, front office and manager philosophy goes. Like Craig does have a good front office background. So, I think it shows that like, at least the guys above him, I don't know if there is anyone between where Jed is and where Tom is, but at least he knows that like, that's where the trust lies in is, he does have a lot of trust in those guys.
Yeah. I just want to point this out because I know our viewers, if they're not watching the game right now, this is the second runner's interference I've seen in as many days that I've seen like in probably my whole lifetime watching baseball. I mean, except for Seiya did not lower the shoulder to hit Mizorowski now. So Mizorowski, just for the viewers who are not watching the game, Seiya just hit a ball 103 miles off of the pitcher's foot. bounced towards first base as Mizorowski was going to chase it. Seiya bumps into him, kind of slices him on his way to first. Umpire calls safe at first for interference anyway, which he wasn't going to get him anyway. The ball was nowhere close, but that's the second time I've seen this happen, and he did not truck. He did not truck him the way that was it Colson Montgomery?
Yeah, and Colson Montgomery, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, hey, let's
hit the Madden stick on that.
Let's just defensive interference these teams to death if we have to.
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk. Obviously, since the last time we talked, we had the home run derby. We had the All-Star game. My favorite to win the All-Star derby ended up winning. So,
yes.
And again, I don't want to take full credit just because I think he was the favorite in the derby anyway. But Cal Raleigh really showed out. How about Jazz Chisenholm? I mean,
oh man, that was brutal.
Nick Kurtz had more home runs in the game over the weekend, in one game over the weekend, than Chaz Chisenholm had in the home run derby. Yeah. That's why was he even in that? That was that's not the Yankee I want to see in that.
He's not even like the second or third Yankee you really think of, honestly. I mean, I don't know if a guy like Judge would ever do it, but
no,
you'd probably want a Bellinger Stanton. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that was a shock, but well, he proved exactly why I think people question him being to begin with. But were you a fan of the home run derby? What did you think of it?
It was a good show. Yeah. Loved Cal Rowley's performance. I said I had picked James Wood. It's not often that you see the guy who is the top leader in home runs going into it, really, really
1-0
already. Let's go. Beautiful. All right. But
he struck up a wild pitch.
Hey, we'll take the runs any way we can get them. I mean, if it's been, like I said, we've been scoring runs on interference, and we've been scoring runs on a bunch of different ways lately. There was the double steal against the Royals, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So, hey, let's get creative, especially against a tough pitcher like Mizorowski. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, the home run derby was great. Like I said, you don't often see the top leader in home runs just take over the whole thing like Cal Raleigh did, and that was an impressive performance. And everyone got all their great big dumper jokes in and had a good laugh with that. So
yeah, Pat McAfee.
Yep.
That was I don't know why they let that guy in a live mic.
That was a little fucking cringe, honestly.
Why did they keep giving this guy a live mic? That's where I'm like, what do you expect is going to come out of his mouth? Let me ask you this about the home run derby, because I've kind of got back and forth about this. I don't know if I love the timer. I get that it can take so long and there's a lot of lulls and stuff like that. But would you prefer them going back to the 10 outs versus the timed?
The 10 outs thing just took forever, honestly.
It did.
But the thing is, they changed the rules on it this year without really kind of telling anyone, because it used to be matchups in the previous recent years in the first round. They did kind of go back to something they did where it was just top. What did I miss here?
Real bad strike that.
Carson Kelly. How are you going to do that to a catcher, by the way? Come on, Blue.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
That call.
Yep. Yeah. That's
I don't know. I it did take forever, but I also feel like, you're getting these guys gassed pretty quickly. I don't know. I mean, I go back and forth. It's, just interesting if they go back. I think they could dabble with it and maybe keep it shorter. Maybe keep, home run derbies 4 guys versus 6 or 8, and keep it real. Because it's who's really doing it right now too? I mean, we saw James Woods, which, I mean, good player. It's not who I think of a home run derby unless I'm seeing Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, guys like that, where it's the creme de la creme of stars. I don't know if I care as much about the home run derby. I mean, once I saw Jazz Chisenholm on there, I was like, what are we doing here?
Right. Here we go. I see in-play runs. What happened, Happer? Are you as behind as I am? Because I'm
delayed, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see in a second here, but rare clutch hit for Ian Happ these days. Love it. All right. 3-0.
Oh yeah, I'm
Beautiful.
still.
Oh, wow. Mizarowski's having a rough go out there. Throwing error by him. Beautiful. Just put the ball in play, Cubs. This is exactly how the Brewers have been scoring runs themselves. So
Yeah, and you got to remember too, Mizarowski's on a pitch count too.
Yeah,
So
that's true. His last time out, they pulled him after what, 4 innings? So.
64 pitches. Oh yeah, right. Look at that. Yeah, oh my God, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
he threw that into the stands. Okay, well, we'll take it.
Yeah, I was thrown into the Summerfest fairgrounds. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so you make a good point with the Derby that like not the biggest stars are doing it like they used to, you know.
Yeah,
and like,
I mean, when you had Sammy Sosa,
I was gonna say
Josh Hamilton, and
like
Mark McGwire, and
late '90s, early 2000s were like the best era. When
I mean, they were also juicing, but
right.
That's why let them juice.
Let them juice. Damn it!
Bring the juice back, man. Let them go. I don't. Hey, do it at your own risk. You want to be on roids? That's on you. You want to live with the aftermath of that? That's on you. But man, those home run derbies were a hell of a lot of fun back in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the actual All-Star game go, the only big takeaways I had were, well, we put the thing at the crawl, the swing off. That was an awesome ending, and especially
I loved it
with our guy Kyle Schwarber too.
Yeah,
it was somewhat disappointing that like there were so many guys that were taken out of the game that had just completely left the premises that weren't even available to be used at that point.
Yeah.
I know so many people were saying like, why isn't Aaron Judge in this? Why isn't, Cal Raleigh in this again? But, everyone's kind of got their own thing they're doing, I guess. Luckily that, Schwarber was someone who was used later in the game and, was there to be the hero. One other big thing that happened in this game too is we saw some of the automatic ball strike review too, as well in that too. There were a couple.
I love that. Yep. I thought that was awesome. I mean, I know I've been watching it in the minors, and I want to say that when Shota was coming back from rehab, he was in the minors, and he challenged a call and had a good time with it. But I mean, it is so quick, the decision process that's made. I think the teams went 6 for 6 combined. Like each team had 3 challenges and each team won all 3. Yeah. So I thought that was great. Because I mean, listen, we bash on the umps a lot, when they have a bad strike zone or it's wide up and down. I mean, and not all of them are Angel Hernandez. I'm not going to go as far to say that, but I think I've even said it on this cast. To be fair, it's a hard job now. Like it's harder than it's ever been. Because you have so much velocity, so much, such a high spin rate on a lot of these pitches. A lot of these pitches break so much out of the zone at the very last second. I'm not saying I do any better than any of the umps out there. I mean, I'm not a professional, but it's a hard job. So
that's a really good point. It's so easy for us watching, the reverse angle from center field on TV to see exactly where it is. But like when you have the catcher in front of you, it's not the easiest to totally tell in that real time. But at the same time, it's one of those things where like we got a glimpse of it in spring training, get a glimpse of it here. It'll be awesome when this technology finally fully comes to the major league level. And
and you're still not taking the umps completely out of the game either, which,
right.
Like everyone's worried like, oh, this is going to take umps jobs and things like that. No, this is a support for umpires when they're, clearly missing marks or when they're making bad calls when, the game is most important or, something's on the line. Real quick, it looks like they're already starting the bullpen going for Milwaukee, which is a great
fantastic. Is this Jacob Mizarowski or is it Jacob Mike Prasnowski out there? I mean, come on.
One is a Polish dude I like. The other is not. So
all right, I know you hate me. I get it.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean, I love the swing off at the end of the game of the All-Star game. I thought that was a lot of fun. I thought Kyle Schwarber is got to be one of the most clutch players in the game right now. Because I mean, this guy had to go 3 for 3 to keep this team, to keep the NL alive. And what does the guy do? He goes 3 for 3, and it was like so easy for him. Like the swings were so flawless and clean, and he dropped down to one knee on one of them and just smiling the process where it's like
iconic Schwarber.
Yeah, dude, it was so cool. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. But yeah, any other thoughts on that?
We'll wait till the end of the show when we do W's and L's. There is a L to someone I want to give involved in the All-Star game, so we'll save it for that. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So, obviously throughout the process, of us being out of, I was out on assignment, we had a little bit of break. We had a homestand, some ups and downs. We had the Boston Red Sox, obviously come through and then the Kansas City Royals, they went 6 games. So
yeah,
really good results against the Red Sox and maybe not so good ones against Kansas City.
Yeah, I was pretty confident in that, calling a sweep last time we recorded. And the 2 games that the Cubs lost were not particularly close. As the top of the first just now wraps up, I believe Jacob Mizorowski threw about like 40 pitches that inning. So see how long of a leash Pat Murphy gives him the rest of the way. Very nice, Cubs.
I don't know if he goes into the second inning at this point. This was a very high stress inning for him. So I think like if you think like sometimes like you'll let a guy go if like he's throwing a lot of pitches, but he's getting guys out or whatever. But this is a high stress inning, and Nico Horner just went like 10 pitches in the last at bat too. So I don't know. I don't know if he comes back after this.
Yeah.
But good series against the Red Sox though. That was a great start, and they obviously this is coming off the heels of going 2 out of 3 against New York against the Yankees.
And think about it from the Red Sox perspective too. They go into the All-Star break having just won 10 in a row and clawing their way back into, not just the wild card race, but for a while there, they were maybe only like 2 or 3 games back of both the Yankees and Toronto. They were still in 3rd place, but tight top of the division there. That was a team that did kind of have a little bit of fear going into it because, Matthew Boyd was not going to start in that series. They were saving him for the start against the Royals, and then ultimately that led to him starting tonight in Milwaukee. And hopefully he can just throw strikes. What was that?
Did Matthew Boyd pitch against the Royals?
He did. Yeah, the one game they won.
Yeah. That's right. They pushed him. Yeah, they pushed him back after the All-Star break to give him another rest.
Yeah.
So that's what it was, and then they pushed him back against the White Sox again, so they could give him the Brewers. So
exactly.
Yeah, that Friday game was obviously that was Colin Ray, who pitched a really solid game against the Red Sox. In that he went, he only gave up 1 run in that game, and that was against Lucas Giolito, ex-friend over from the other side of town. That
wait, Friday was that? Yeah, that's right. It was Giolito.
That was the Lucas Giolito game. They got to him early.
I thought it would be Crochet going into it, but the Red Sox basically did the same thing the Cubs did, saving kind of their best for last, because Crochet did pitch Sunday. So all right, that makes sense now. But old friend Giolito,
got to him early with a 3-run home run.
Yeah, Seiya Suzuki showing the world why he should have been an All-Star.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty easy win. We had Palencia come in for the save. Also him showing the world why he should have been an All-Star. And then, that fairly easy win. Same thing the next night with Shota on the mound against the Red Sox. That was one I thought, midway through they could have matched what they did against the Cardinals a few weeks ago, because they were just going bombs away. Who was it for the Red Sox that started that night? Was that like Cutter Crawford or
was it Bello?
Oh, Brian Bayo. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, Bayo. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So solid game again. With Imanaga, and we'll obviously talk about him a little bit later. About another game he pitched in the most recent series that was not so favorable. And honestly, they were in that. they were in that game on Sunday against Garrett Crochet until the later innings. I mean, up until the seventh inning, they were leading that game 1-0, and then gave up 6 unanswered runs, 2 in the 7th, and then 4 in the 8th. With Ryan Presley giving up the runs in that game to ultimately take the loss. So they could have won that game too. They hung in there against Garrett Crochet. I think that was a game that who pitched that game? Was that
for the Cubs? That was Horton. Cade Horton pitched that
Horton.
game.
Yeah, he went toe to toe with Garrett Crochet in that game.
Yeah, did 5.2 shutout, 4 strikeouts,
2 hits.
Crochet, only 2 hits allowed. Very solid performance for Cade Horton, who has. He's only made 2 starts, I think, because he started Saturday against the White Sox, looked really good there too. So, good looking for him. It's unfortunate that his year is probably going to get cut short at some point with the innings limit. But
in July, he's got a sub 2 ERA. I think it's like a 1.9, 1.8 ERA in the month of July. So, Cade Horton is finding a groove here in July, which has been much needed, considering the deficiencies that this team has in the rotation with, losing Justin Steele at the beginning of the year, Jameson Taillon being out, Javier Asada still is not back. And, we just got some good news from him that he's, pitching in Arizona, I think today, if I'm not mistaken, him and Miguel Amaya, I think is catching.
Yep.
So maybe some reinforcements on the way there, but
some reinforcements, but hopefully that's not the only rotation help we're getting at this point.
No, and I did hear Jesse Rogers just speak earlier today. He was saying that if he had to put a wager on it, he would set the number at 2.5 roster additions for the Cubs, and he said he would take the over. So
interesting.
He's in the
2.5, 3 sounds like probably right in that sweet spot for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like two starters, and at least I don't know if it's Suarez. Maybe a little lower on the list in priority for me. I could see that though. But I think the higher priority would be getting like a right-handed bat, one you could potentially use off the bench, or if it's Suarez, then get Suarez.
Yeah, come on, Matthew.
Yeah, 3 spot in the first, and you're out here
got
not
2 guys on, no outs.
Come on.
Yeah. It's that playoff, man.
Yeah.
All right. Double play here. Come on, I'm calling it. They play Kansas City next at home. And again, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Royals, and we got to see an old friend come back. Rich Hill pitched a game at 45 years old.
Yeah.
Pulling a Jamie Moyer and just keeping it going.
Yeah. Do you remember in 2005 at all when he first came up, and what I mean, there was nothing really all that memorable about him as a rookie, but there were some moments I do remember those first few years when he was in a Cub uniform that, I mean, anything stick out to you from his time as a Cub?
Not that I can remember. I mean, I always, it was funny for the longest time. I'd always get, I don't want to say confused, but I would always like flip flop him and Rich Harden. Like
the
thinking
Rich H's,
yeah, the Rich Harden, because I was thinking through like the Rich Harden trade, when they were chasing Milwaukee. That was it 2007?
Oh, wait. Because that was the same year that Milwaukee got Sabathia, and there we go.
Correct.
Hey, you called it. You called it with the double play ball. Perfect.
Pitch into contact, man. Trust your defense.
Absolutely.
Look at that. Matt Shaw, smart play to third and got him at wow, brilliant play by Matt, who has played really great third base defensively. Yeah. I mean, the bat we know has been the question. He's gotten hot out of the All-Star break, but the glove has not been the problem, which has been really nice. So great job, Matt Shaw.
That was probably the biggest question mark about his game going into this season as well, too, because like he never really had a defined position in the minors. But yeah, Shaw, had his struggles hitting earlier this year, has really torn it up since the break, and continues to look really good at the hot corner. So love to see that from Matt Shaw. to go back to Rich Hill for a second, the two things I'll always remember about him with the Cubs is, one, he was actually the guy on the mound when the Barrett Przinsky fight happened in 06 on the South Side.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, he didn't play much of a significant role in that other than just giving up a sac fly. Yeah, watching. But the one painful memory I'll always have of him is, do you remember Game 3 in 07 against the Diamondbacks? You know, they come into that game down 0-2, and they're finally back at home, and everyone's got all the hope that, just got to win at home and everything will be fine. And one pitch into that game, Chris Young hits a Rich Hill, 92-mile-an-hour fastball onto Waveland Avenue, and that was basically the game in the series.
Yeah. I mean, 07 and 08 are definitely 2 years that I like to forget. I mean, those are both years that they got swept in the first round, between it was the Diamondbacks in 07 and the Dodgers, the Manny Ramirez-led Dodgers in 08, when they had the best record in the National League that year too, which that was heartbreaking. They had a squad too. That was just disappointing. Look at Matt Shaw doing work.
Yeah, there we go. It was Matt Shaw bailing out Matt Boyd that inning. That's the Matt
Shaw show right there.
Yep.
Oh, he's getting love from his team there. Yeah, he got all 3 outs. Good for him. Any other thoughts from that Kansas City series? I know there was one game where I think it was against the Royals or was it against the White Sox, where I was really questioning why Craig Counsell was I think maybe it was the White Sox, but he sat Matt Shaw in favor of Vidal Brujan. I know they were facing.
Yeah, that was the first game of the White Sox series.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, where I was like, again, I get the matchup things, but Vidal Brujan does not deserve any playing time. I'm sorry. I don't care what circumstance, what lineup you're trying to throw out there, lefty or righty, whatever. He does not deserve any playing time other than a pinch runner at this point. Yeah. And any production you're going to get from, Matt Shaw against, against a righty or, against a righty, is probably going to be better than what Vidal Brujan's giving you from the left side. So
for sure.
Yeah. Frustrating.
The one thing I did kind of think with it, and funny enough, Vidal Brujan, not that I really wanted him in there, but he did have a good game. He did have 3 hits in that night that he started. It was the first game against Adrian Hauser and the Sox. That's fine. That's fine. The one saving grace of it all is, at least if you don't like Matt Shaw against righties, you can save him for the spot you want him against a lefty reliever later in the game.
Sure. Yeah, I guess fine. It's a point. I don't know if I agree with the point, but it's a point.
For sure.
Any other thoughts with the homestand before we talk about the interleague series that just have just kind of concluded for a little bit?
I mean, game 1 was one that they should have had, and it slipped away and got real ugly because at one point they were up 4-1, and then between Ben Brown struggling and some Chris Flexen, who had been kind of overused a little bit, it kind of just became an ugly one. And then did have a little bit of a scare in the last game where Kyle Tucker was a late scratch from the lineup.
Yep.
Because in the one game they won against Kansas City, he fouled a ball off his knee, but played in all 3 games of the White Sox series, is in there tonight. And, that was only a very brief scare, thankfully.
Yep. Yeah. And I know you had the question because you wanted to talk about this topic. And I actually, to be honest with you, when you brought this up, I really felt it too, until I went back and checked the records and stuff like that. Cause we were kind of talking about how they have not played that well against the American League. And then I went back and saw that they're 22-14 against the AL, which is the second best record against the American League in the National League. They're 10-5 against the AL Central, which I honestly felt like they were really bad against the AL Central.
Right.
But then I had to go back and remember that they swept the White Sox the first series and they swept the Guardians.
Right.
Actually, I may have gotten that wrong. 10-5. Is that right?
Well,
because they lost. Oh
so-
no, that's wrong. It's actually it's.
Well, in the
I-
9 combined game between the White Sox and the Guardians, they're 8-1. So then it would be 4 losses. You maybe didn't include Detroit because they lost 2 out of 3 in Detroit too, and then 2 out of 3 in Minnesota, and lost
I
2 out of
lost.
3 Kansas
So
City.
they're actually. Let me correct this really quick.
All good.
They are 11-7 against the AL Central. So,
Okay.
not exactly the world-beating record, I guess you'd expect, but it's still a winning record. And again, you got 2 sweeps from the White Sox and the Guardians, but yeah, they lost 2 out of 3 to Detroit. They lost 2 out of well, I'm talking like a tree Chicago, and 2 out of 3 against
2 out of
Kansas
tree,
City.
couple
2 out of 3 against Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it hasn't been great, but I know you had some thoughts. So,
well, the thing that I've noticed more than anything is like even in the series that they win against those teams, like the one loss they had to the White Sox, the 2 losses they had to the Royals, and then even before that, the 1 loss to the Red Sox, the 1 loss to the Yankees, were all like totally non-competitive games. Now, a couple things that you could factor into that. One, the Cubs rotation is in a little bit of trouble right now with Tyone on the IL. Every 5 days or so, you're either starting Ben Brown or you're having to resort to go to a bullpen game. So that does kind of put you in a little bit of a hole. The main thing I'm taking away from, them losing big in the way that they are to those teams is that I kind of wonder if they don't have those teams scouted as well. And like, maybe just don't have have it as a high priority to scout them as well as they do. Cause like, you know what? Yesterday is probably something that would be a good example of my point going against that because of the double play that Nico Horner turned on the White Sox. Yeah. And then, the play with Nico and Ian Happ inducing the defensive interference on the base pass there. But, that is also a team that you've gotten to see multiple times in the White Sox. With some of these other American League teams, you only maybe see them once. Yeah, you feel like you could maybe hit them. You could beat them just on your pure talent alone and not really have to worry about like what the weaknesses and the strengths are. At least
I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough to speak on, the scouting department and what they're doing in terms of that. But I'd like to think that they are probably scouting pretty heavily because they seem like a pretty heavily like analytical, forward-thinking team, and with their pitch labs and all that stuff. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I think it's just been frustrating the way that they played against the AL Central team specifically. I mean, like Detroit, I knew it was going to be a hard series. Right. And listen, a lot of it's not who you play, it's when you play them. That's part of baseball, right? Like they were playing Detroit, when Detroit was absolutely cruising like 20 plus games above 500 at that point. Mm-hmm. And then you look at them now and they've lost 9 of their last 10. So, that's a struggle. And then you play a White Sox team that, coming out of the All-Star break, was averaging like 8 runs a game or something like that. And,
yeah, that's a good point. They were really hot going into that series.
I think they were 5-1 going into that series too. So, and then game 1, they continued that hot streak, scoring 12 runs and obviously winning that game. So they were 6-1 at that point out of the All-Star break. So again, baseball happens, right? Like, I mean, we saw, you're playing a bad White Sox team, throughout the year they've been bad, right? Like, I think there's signs of life there that you can, if you're a White Sox fan, that you could be happy about, right. And maybe a little excited about. There's signs of life. They got some youth, but they're a bad team. They're not a winning team. And then you said it, right? They made a boneheaded play with Nico Horner, just using high baseball IQ and recognizing who they're playing against, and dropping that infield fly, getting the out at first, and then picking off the runner, trying to advance to third base, when he panicked. Right. So, I think it's frustrating, to play down to competition. I think that's something that I've always told you is like one of my biggest frustrations when watching like the Cubs or just any baseball team is when you play down to competition. But to be fair, Miami just took 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee right before this series.
Exactly.
When Milwaukee had just won 11, 13 in a row or something like that. So
yeah.
Baseball happens. It is what it is.
Baseball does happen. I think I read too. Like, I'll be brief on this. I think in recent years, the Marlins are like the one team that like the Brewers really do struggle to beat. Honestly, as far as,
but they
like,
sweep the Dodgers, no problem.
yeah, exactly. Baseball's going to baseball on you. One other thing I did want to bring up too. So, and our good friend Chicago Sports Bums were a part of this too. The White Sox started off the second half with a road trip to Pittsburgh, and that was one that our guys, the Bums, and the From the 108 guys and the Sox Machine crew, they were all there for it. There was a pretty heavy Sox fan presence there. Then they play the Rays in Tampa Bay. The Rays, even when they're at the Trop, don't really draw many fans, and I imagine there's probably a lot of Chicago retirees down there that were going to see those games and everything. But then they come back home where the crowd is not on their side, and it's majority Cub fans there. Yeah. And, it's the most like topsy-turvy kind of schedule for them, where they have they feel like they're the home team when they're on the road, and they feel like they're the visiting team when they're at home.
Yeah. How was the vibe those games? Did you go to all three, or did you go to just one?
Only the Saturday game. Yeah. Okay. But it was a fun time. I think I saw on Friday there was like some big fight that broke out in the bleachers, as is tradition. As speaking of which, former White Sox Andrew Vaughn, does he continue his hot streak? Yes, he does. Wait, no, that's a foul ball. Okay, thankfully, get back in the box, you asshole. All right.
How about that guy, man?
The line. Yeah,
I just saw
hell up.
How about that guy? I mean, it's another guy that leaves the White Sox organization, and what was it? Gavin Sheets going to the Dodgers, turned it around. I think Michael Kopech went to the Dodgers, and it's been pitched. I don't know how he's doing, but I would assume that he's pitching better than he was with the White Sox. And then Andrew Vaughn, who was pretty much left for dead in Chicago, and got traded for like a bag of nuts. He got traded for nothing, and. With the Brewers, he's hitting 341, 417 on base, 659 slug, and has 3 home runs, where he played 48 games with the White Sox and had 5 home runs total. So, he's really turned. I mean, he started off to a good, good start for him in his Brewers career. But
I ever since he's been on this hot streak with the Brewers, I've been jokingly calling him Andrew Braun. Just thinking, that fits. Yeah.
Yeah. But don't remind me of that guy.
But yeah, I mean, overall on the South Side, vibes were high and everything. The one game I went to was actually kind of boring because there wasn't any scoring until like the 7th inning. Ian Happ actually kind of shoved it in my face a little bit with a home run there. Got good pitching performance out of Cade Horton there. Little kind of scary from Ryan Presley in the 9th, but it was a safe enough lead where you could bring him in, and that was that. And then some excitement yesterday. Yeah, good old Ryan Stressley, exactly. He might be the last guy on the pecking order at this point for the bullpen.
He's gotta be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you save him for later in the year when you have some easier matchups, but he's not a guy I want out there late in close games at all at this point. And then yesterday's game, it was one that PCA got off to a big start with, a 2-run double. Ben Brown bounced back real nice, gave up 1 home run to Andrew Benintendi, but that was about it. And Cubs looked like they were cruising, and then Andrew Benintendi struck again, but thankfully Cubs had enough to kind of put them away, and that was that. Got out of Dodge.
Ooh, PCA, man.
I saw he just made a catch. Did he go full speed into the wall, or?
No, he glides out there,
Okay.
I think anybody else, they're going full speed, but for him, it's I mean, that ball was hit hard to dead center. I mean, that was warning track power, it's 400 feet out to dead center.
It is a pretty damn deep out center field in Milwaukee there. Yeah, I feel like in the corners, it's pretty shallow, but got a lot of ground to cover there in center.
Yeah, he did it, man, effortlessly, which is, man, it's so nice to have a guy like that out there in center. And man, talk about just being is PCA a Sox killer now? Are you dubbing him a Sox killer? Because this is 2 series now where he's had some pretty good games against them.
Let's see it
Were Sox fans
from him,
booing
maybe?
and were they hating on him? Were they
I mean, he
annoyed?
definitely generated the most. Well, I mean, but again, it's a Cubs White Sox crowd though, so like it was the most reaction of any player.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, but like it was hard to really tell, if it was more boos than cheers because a lot of Cub fans there.
Yeah,
so
I guess that's what I'm asking is the reaction, from the crowd from like some of these Cubs players that are having good years. Like, Kyle Tucker is a guy who's, questionably the best player on the Cubs team, right? But he's still quiet and mild mannered that it's like, if you don't watch the Cubs, it's like you don't follow Kyle Tucker as much, but PCA is getting like thrown in everybody's face over the last like few months.
Yeah.
So I could see why other teams will like grow to just dislike a player like him.
He's like, for someone who is not a Cubs fan, he's similar to like that song you always hear overplayed on the radio that you're just getting sick of, Yeah.
It's a good analogy.
Exactly.
All right. Well, they got a big series here in Milwaukee that's obviously underway right now. Cubs are leading 3-0 in the bottom of the second. The Cubs are going to face all three of Milwaukee's best starters. They will face two of the Cubs' best starters. You'll have, obviously, Matthew Boyd tonight. I think I think he lost me for a sec. Imanaga's going tomorrow. Is it tomorrow that he's going?
It's Ray tomorrow,
and
then Imanaga on Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah. So this game one is really important. You want to make sure that you're up 3-0. You want to close this game out the best you can because, I don't know what to expect from Colin Ray, to be honest. Like he's so up and down that, and it's just tough to trust what you're going to get from him. And Imanaga is obviously coming off a really bad game from the White Sox, over the weekend, which was the only loss of the series. He got shell shocked, and I almost kind of wondered if he was tipping his pitches. It just felt like that team knew what was coming.
They did, but like if you look at the location on a lot of it, it was all like high 80s, low 90s, and right down the middle. So like it's not one you really have to be paying close attention for. It is maybe something to think about in future Shota starts because he is someone who, like, when he comes set, does kind of become a little deliberate and like does I don't know the right way to put it, but like you definitely like your eye is definitely drawn to his hands coming together. And I could see how like some teams may pick up on that. And again, fly ball pitcher, he's going to have a few games here and there where what happened against the White Sox happens. But he'll bounce back from it.
I hope so, because they're going to need him going against these top three. I mean, Mizorowski is, he settled in the second. They ended up throwing him back out there, and he looked like the pitcher that we thought we were going to see.
Right.
And then you've got is it Priester tomorrow?
Yeah, Quinn Priester. Yep.
Yeah, and then you've got
area guy too.
And then you got Peralta going on Wednesday, and Peralta's given the Cubs fits over the years. So
yeah, he has.
It's going to be a tough series against this team, and I know like you kind of earmarked a different series with Milwaukee, with the 5-game series at Wrigley being more important. But it is later in the year. I get it, but I mean, right now it's like you win. Whoever wins this series is in first place by the end of the series. So
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, we're either going to be 3 back, 1 up, or 3 up. So we'll see how it all plays out. It's not so much that it's the 5-game series that is more important to me. It's more so that, coming up to the trade deadline now, the Cubs are not, they may not be their complete selves yet. They may not have every player that they're going to go forward with yet. And same could be said for the Brewers, although they did make a move today getting catcher Danny Jansen from the Rays. But, that'll be the one series where every guy that the Cubs make an effort to acquire and the Brewers make an effort to acquire is, going to be on full display for.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else from this? Any more thoughts before we move on to find the W's, taking the L's, and wrap up for tonight?
I think we're good as far as anything from previous games go.
Well, we could definitely make our predictions still, but all right, let's jump into find the W's and taking the L's.
Hello, you play to win the game.
Addison is next. Doors open on the left at Addison.
I say one thing. Go. Let's go. That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
Is a L7 winning.
Alrighty, so I know I already gave one L, but I've got a couple more L's, and I feel like you probably know where I'm going with them.
I think they're Chicago ownership and front office related. We'll see.
Well, I already did those ones at the beginning, so that was definitely one, but I've got two more.
Okay.
I got to stay on brand, though, so you probably...
I know where you're going with one of them, and I think one of your L's is going to be a recipient of one of my W's in the Chicago Sports Bums for putting on a great display of, the Whiskey at Comiskey tailgate on Saturday.
Don't care.
You don't care? Okay, fine.
Don't care. They still owe us. I am not going to let it go. This has been... How many games have they won against the White Sox in the last few years?
What now? 5-7 games since that bet was made. Because it was the series at Wrigley, and then the one on the South Side was after that. So
they swept 2 last year. They swept 1 this year, and took 2 out of 3 this year. So a lot of games in between that bet, and we still have yet to see them pay up. So they could throw all the fun tailgates they want, but as far as I'm concerned, they're dudes that don't pay their bets.
So. That's fair. That's fair. I will say it was a fairly star-studded kind of tailgate. Had a few notable appearances there. John Schriffen, the Sox broadcaster, very nice guy.
That dude loves those guys.
Oh, he does, yeah. And then I didn't happen to get a picture of it, but Paul Sullivan, former beat writer for the Tribune, made a appearance there. Yep. So and they do it all for free, and as much shit as we give them, they do it off of the content they make, and we're appreciative of that. Also, my one buddy Brian from a Cubs page known as the Setup Man showed up when I kind of told him like last minute and someone unannounced, and they treated him like family. So thank you to the Bums for doing so there. Awesome. Second W is another sports related one, we'll say. I went to the game on, was it Wednesday, the last game against the Royals? And it was in a group that included one of your favorites, David Kaplan, and was there with David Kaplan, with my other podcast co-host, Andy Dolan, mutual friend of ours, Mike Pusateri, who also did some content with us as well, too. Mike Pusateri put this all together. So to Mike Pusateri, W for you. Thank you for that. And, got a chance to spend some time talking some ball with Cap, and got some insight into, what the Cubs are going to approach this deadline like. And, as to a peek behind the curtain, I'll let everyone know right now. From what I heard is that the Cubs are not going to be as hesitant as far as like getting players at a high salary price, but they may be a little more hesitant as far as prospect capital they have to give up. And maybe that might be even more so the case after today with the Jed Hoyer extension being announced. So
yeah, I've definitely seen and heard some things around that too, and just like them not being afraid taking on the salary, but they want cost control guys too. Like I think that if they're going to trade from their top of the farm, they want guys that are going to be part of the organization for more than just a rental. So I think like when people are saying like the Cubs are all in. I think it's true to an extent, but I do think that they're not like, from what I've heard, and I think Jesse Rogers even said it, like they're not like trade Glaber Torres for, 3 months of Aroldis Chapman all in. They want somebody who's going to be part of the organization past this year. So if they are trading their top prospects like Owen Casey or Triantos or, Long or Alcantara, like it's going to be for a pitcher that is controllable, like a Mackenzie Gore, or, which I know we've kind of been back and forth on, Mackenzie Gore and some of the other pitchers, who we'd like to get, but we've got 3 days here, right? I think when's the trade deadline? Is Thursday?
Yes, yeah, Thursday trade deadline, 31st.
Yeah, so we've got a couple days here to figure out what's going to happen. And right now they're saying all the prices are extremely high, so things are kind of at a standstill for the moment. But I probably over the next couple days we're going to start to see some things happen. So
I was going to say, is this one of your upcoming L's, or is this because we did have a little talk about what the Diamondbacks are expecting for a return as far as Suarez goes, So
yeah, no, I as far as like L's, I just had the bums. That was a big one for me just because they still haven't paid their debt, and I'm not going to let them forget it. The other one is Aaron Rodgers. I'm just got to stay on brand here.
There you go.
He had a dispute with Terry Bradshaw over the weekend. I don't know if you heard it.
No.
So I don't know if I would necessarily call it a dispute, but Terry Bradshaw, basically was very vocal about the Steelers signing Aaron Rodgers, and basically saying he doesn't understand why the Steelers were going after the guy. I don't think Terry Bradshaw particularly likes Aaron Rodgers, and I think a lot of it is the off the field stuff. So he made some comments there. Aaron Rodgers at Steelers camp over the weekend, basically try to diffuse it and say like, well, we don't really talk. He doesn't know me. If he did, I think he would like me. And, it came off very disingenuous. Like, I just don't, he did the right thing not going after Terry Bradshaw, which I think, obviously, like I lived in Pittsburgh, like I told you, Terry Bradshaw's God there. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
you are
any
not
of those
saying,
70s and 80s Steelers. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you are not. You will do yourself a disservice if you say anything bad about any of those dudes. So I think he did the right thing in not going that route, but also it just felt very disingenuous, and he's a big phony. I just I can't stand the guy. Every time I hear him talk, I just want to stab my ears. And I root for the Steelers. It's my AFC team, having lived there, and it's going to be a year that I probably don't watch a lot of Steelers football just because I just cannot stand the dude.
Yeah. Hey, at least he's out of our lives on a regular basis, at least for now. You never know when he might pop up again.
Yeah.
But, anyways, so my L, this is my only L. I'm going with NL and LA Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, because in the All-Star game, the NL had a pretty commanding lead. They were up 4-0, or actually no, it's 6-0 through 6 innings. They were AL clawed back with 4 runs themselves. The best closer in the National League this year so far, I think at least one of the best, has been Daniel Palencia. Daniel Palencia was not invited to the All-Star game. Probably could have been a much more smooth landing if you had him available. Instead, they went with Robert Suarez of the Padres. He gave up 2 runs. Adrian Morejon of the Padres, 2 runs. Randy Rodriguez, 2 runs. Finally, after all the hoopla about Jacob Mizorowski making the All-Star team, 5 starts into his MLB career, Dave Roberts waits until the 8th inning to bring him into that game. You would think you'd maybe, if you really are going that far out of your way to make him an all-star, you'd use him a little sooner in the game and not at a time when you really want someone who has the experience pitching in late innings, which he doesn't really have much as far as this goes. Although Miz did do his job. He got 3 outs, only allowed 1 hit. So, but, not like it really matters for this game, and it did help produce a pretty fun ending with the home run swing off and Schwarber. But, if you were trying to win that game, Dave Roberts, you didn't do it in the best way. L to you.
Okay, I like it. I'm down for that.
Yep.
Did you have any W's?
I gave my W's. Bums.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
Mike Pusateri. Yep.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You did give those. I don't have any W's this week, to be honest. I've been grumpy this week, so I've got nothing nice to say this week.
Hey, you know what? The Cubs are going to give us the W's for you this weekend in Milwaukee.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, so we've got 3 on the road here in Milwaukee, which, I mean, questionably you could say on the road because we also have dubbed it Wrigley North.
Exactly.
And then 3 at home against a pretty bad Baltimore team this year, which has been really shocking to see how bad Baltimore has fallen from grace, considering the last 2 years they made the playoffs and had some really strong teams in the AL East. So I'll let you go ahead and start out. You got 3 against Milwaukee here against the 3 best pitchers that they have. And Matthew Boyd, there you go. I'll give it W. Matthew Boyd. W to Matthew Boyd for his 1,000th career strikeout.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, got that against the Royals last time out.
No, he just got it right now.
Oh, just right now?
Yeah,
just
awesome. Right now. Live in the moment. There you go. He made my W right there.
Awesome. And, hey, deserving all-star as well, too. A shame that he couldn't pitch in that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 against Milwaukee in Milwaukee, and then 3 at home against Baltimore. What are you feeling?
All right. I mean, it's easy for me to say this now because we're up 3-0. Although, in a little bit of a jam right now with runners in first and second, but I do think the Cubs will hold on to win this game. I feel like Matthew Boyd starts once you get him a couple runs of support. Maybe some innings like this, but generally they're fine. I think they win tonight. Tomorrow, I think, is also a win. I think it's going to be a Colin Ray revenge game against the Brewers. And Quinn Priester, who starts tomorrow. The Cubs did see him in Milwaukee last time they went up there, and the Cubs scored 7 runs in 4.2 thirds innings off of him. And that was actually a game he didn't even start. That was a game that there was an opener for him. Quinn Priester has been really damn good, but the Cubs have hit him hard. And the one nice thing about this series is the side of pitching that the Cubs struggle standard, there is no lefty starter scheduled. It's 3 righties, right? We move on to Wednesday. I think Freddie Peralta kind of continues his run of being dominant against the Cubs. Maybe you get a bounce back from Shota, but I don't see the Cubs sweeping the series. I got the Cubs taking the first 2 and then losing the last one. And then against the Baltimore, will be interesting to see because they're a team that's likely going to be selling. Whatever their pitching is right now may not be their pitching then, especially since all 3 games are going to be after the deadline. They do have some attractive hitting pieces as well in Ryan O'Hearn. I wonder if any of their recently called up prospects, if they're going to shop whatever Holiday they have, or Adley Rutschman possibly. I'll give them a game just because I don't know. The Cubs have been struggling late with an interleague play again. Yeah, I saw they gave up a run there. Come on, get out of it. Honestly, and Vaughn's up now. Can we just put him on first, please?
Who would have thought you would have said that a month ago?
Yeah. Well, in these colors, yes, I would say that. But I'll say 2 out of 3 in each series. Win the first 2 in Milwaukee. Win 2 out of 3 this weekend against Baltimore.
Okay, so you've got 4 and 2.
4 and 2. Yep.
I love that you are as optimistic as you are. I unfortunately think that they are going to lose 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee this week.
Right.
I think Milwaukee's been playing much better baseball, and I think the Colin Ray game, like I said, doesn't feel as good to me. Matthew Boyd hasn't looked as sharp in this game so far as he has over the last a month or 2. So I do think that they lose 2 out of 3 in this series, but I do think that they sweep Baltimore coming out of the All-Star break. And I do think that they make some trades that set them up for the series after that too, where they're actually going to be able to fill in some starting pieces and not necessarily have to throw Ben Brown into a game somewhere, because I think that's where it's he's probably going to pitch against Baltimore at some point. And He pitched pretty well against the White Sox. He got out of some trouble, in some innings there, and he, ultimately had a pretty good game for all things considering. But I'm going to say 4-2, but I'm going to say it's basically from a sweep from Baltimore and taking, 1 out of 3 from Milwaukee this series.
So let me just do some math here. If it's 1-2 against Milwaukee, Cubs came into this series 3-2 against them, so it would be 4 apiece in the head-to-head, which, does matter a lot. So, I guess as long as we would then keep pace with where they're at wins and loss wise, because let me actually see who Milwaukee plays this weekend too. Let me see.
And Matt Boyd has been rough this game.
Yeah, he's been playing with some fire, and we'll see. Got out of it in the first with a ground ball. Hopefully, he can get another one here.
Brewers have they had Seattle, they had the Marlins, they had the Cubs right now this week, and then heading into August they have the Nationals and the Braves all on the road.
That might be like an 8-1 stretch between here and those 2 series.
And they get to come home and play a pretty hot New York Mets team.
Okay.
Then they've got 3 against Pittsburgh at home, 3 against Cincinnati on the road, and 5 against the Cubs that third week of August, obviously at Wrigley. Then they have to then they stay home and play the Giants and the Diamondbacks. So they play Giants for 3 and Diamondbacks for 4, which the Diamondbacks could look very different after a sell-off.
Right. Kelly's not there. Suarez ain't there. Yeah.
Then they have to go to a very hot Toronto team, which I don't know what they'll look like at the end of August at this point. But
yeah, that's true. AL East is totally up for grabs as well as,
It's going to be a fun month, man. It's going to be a fun month and a half, 2 months, really, little over 2 months with August and September. I mean,
right. God, can we just get some freaking breathing room where like one loss doesn't feel like the end of the world,
Yeah, well, it is still August. I mean, it's not even August yet. It is still July. So, I mean, we're not quite there yet, I would say, for panic mode, but it definitely does feel a lot heavier when they're losing games that you think that they should win. And then also I think they're losing games because they have, some pieces that they need to get. So we'll find out in a couple days, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I've got nothing left. Any last thoughts?
We started off the show talking Judd Hoyer, and he, for better or for worse, at least the direction the Cubs are going forward with now. At least there's some stability, that there's no fear that we're going to be going into next year with Carter Hawkins running the show.
Yeah, well, that's if they didn't just get rid of the entire team, but for sure.
True. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in, listening to the Bums and the Bleachers podcast. Like we said, right now, the Cubs are currently leading the Milwaukee Brewers. This is in the bottom of the third right now. Matthew Boyd is struggling a little bit. He's got the bases loaded with 1 out. It's a 2-2 count. So we're hoping that, Matthew can pick it up, get out of it. It also is a really hot, humid day in the Midwest too. So I could definitely see Matthew working up some lather. He had a cold soaked towel on his head in between innings. So I'm sure that isn't helping pitchers out there today, but let's see if they can hopefully, limit the damage here and get out of this one alive. And then again, just continue to try to gain some ground as much as they can against this really good Milwaukee team. And as I say that, it is 3-3. So,
okay. Well, all right. Let's get out of here before it gets any worse.
Yeah. Let's not. Yeah. All right. Well, appreciate listening, and hopefully we can meet up next week too. So
absolutely.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for watching, everyone.